go see some koi. So as we're heading up to the koi area, we have this beautiful mural that our in-house designer Ray did. It's really incredible. She hand painted the whole thing. She builds a grid on the wall. This is her second mural. At one of our other stores, she built one that's 3 stories tall. So it's pretty impressive. And then our hardscape and pond construction team built this beautiful bubbling feature pondless waterfall area here with these giant pieces of local Pennsylvania fieldstone, and really just ties in the whole property. We don't have too many customers that come here. Most of them are already pond customers because they're here to buy fish. This was an area on the property that I hated for so long. It was just like gravel, and now I enjoy looking at it. So it's pretty cool. Part of our business is pond construction and service, and this is the headquarters for that. We have about 30 different trucks that we have all over New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. And this is like the headquarters for it. So they all come back here on a regular basis. The bigger trucks spend the nights here, but we stock all our material. Really having a large farm with a lot of space is super helpful for us. So this is our first greenhouse that we built on the farm. We call this the quarantine greenhouse. It has 18 different koi tanks. And when you think of quarantine is like a common word since COVID. During COVID, you need like a health certificate to travel, but for animals, you've always needed a health certificate. So pretty ironic to me that the US government was so stringent on, hey, animals need health certificates, but people used to be able to go wherever they want seamlessly through borders, and they were always worried about animals. Even fish. When all the koi come from Japan, they get quarantined before they go out into customers' ponds. Even though these fish are not allowed to be released into public waterways or anything, we still quarantine them to maintain the health. And this is why this greenhouse was built. We actually built it in 2 weeks, right after we bought the property, and we had a koi shipment coming. So this one's built out of wood, but come inside and I'll show you what a koi quarantine facility looks like. All right, so in the quarantine greenhouse here, we have everything separated by different tanks. As you can see, this one has a splash guard. We don't want to transfer diseases from fish to another tank of fish. So we're very stringent on keeping everything safe from getting splashed around. And then we have smaller tanks that keep smaller koi. Today is Friday on the farm, and on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, we actually feed the fish. We don't feed them other days during the week because we're always shipping. And if you feed fish before they get shipped, they produce waste in the bag and they don't arrive in great condition. As you go through this greenhouse, I'll be tossing some fish food in all the tanks. Each tank has different varieties of koi. Some might be a kahaku, a sanke, a showa, and certain breeders specialize in those types of varieties. The simplest way to picture that is the koi farmers are kind of like wineries, and they all specialize in one special aspect. The more specialized that koi farm is, usually the higher price and higher value it is. So you have a koi farm that might be producing a really, really high quality in a small batch, and then you might have a koi farm that produces more of a vast variety of koi and a lot of them, and all of that stuff reflects the price. My specialty is just selling them. We're not breeders here on the farm. We import the fish from Japan and then we re-wholesale them. I do have a couple favorites, and those are the ones that sell the fastest. It's really cool to kind of see all different varieties of koi. Most people just think there's one, koi fish, but there's hundreds of different varieties that they go by, and all of them have different growth rates, and it's cool to see. So as we take you through, we'll show you the different ones. The fish in these tanks right here are 1-year-old koi. They refer to one as a tosai in Japanese. So it's a fish that's in its first year, and that's always referred to as tosai. The next age is called nisai, and in Japanese, the word for 2 is ni, and the word for 3 is san. 1-year-old is tosai, which has no correlation to ichi, which means 1 in Japanese. 2 is nisai. 3, sansai, 4, yansai. It goes on through ages, and all customers want different fish for different price points and different size ponds. We sell the most tosai because they're the cheapest fish, and then so on with 2-year-old koi, 3-year-old koi, 4-year-old koi. So some of the fish here on the farm are only about 12, 15 centimeters. Then we have some that are over 100 centimeters. All different aspects of the hobby in different areas, so we try to supply every level of the hobby to get customers into the fish. So some koi can live up to 30, 40 years old. There is myths in Japan that fish are over 100 years old. I personally haven't seen them, but most koi are in the best quality from 3 years old to about 10 to 12 years old. And that's where their skin, their color looks really, really good. But you can still have a nice fish in your pond into 30, 40 years old. So we keep our koi in quarantine for about 4 weeks. So they come in from Japan, we keep them separate by breeder, treat them. We have a full-time veterinary on staff, so he watches over what we do. We send fish out to the labs, make sure they have no parasites or issues, and then we release them for sale on our website and some of our retail locations. And then we also supply wholesale all over the US. Here's some of the smallest fish we have on the farm. So some of these are only about 10, 12 centimeters. They're a great size for a small fish tank or just beginners in the pond. And these guys are awful hungry today. A big part of our business with Japanese koi is getting a fish all the way from the mountains of Niigata to Tokyo Airport, then to New York, then to our farm. When you're shipping air cargo, the most expensive thing is weight. And that's how they base all of their pricing on air cargo. Shipping koi gets very expensive very fast. If you ever broke down an airline ticket, it actually costs more per kilo to ship koi than it does a person. I always think it's ironic when I get a first class ticket with points and it costs me more money to ship one box of koi. Very frustrating on our end. But the reason we brought these small koi sometimes is we'll grow them here on our farm and we can fit 150 koi this big in a box versus when you ship a 2-year-old koi, you can only fit 10 to 12. That cost per shipping has to be broken down to each fish. And sometimes a box costs over $600 to get from Japan to America. And there's other licensing and permitting that we have to do to get these koi here. That's why we have all different sizes of koi to appeal from price points from $30, $40 all the way to 6 figures. So as you're walking through the greenhouse, you see nets and things everywhere. We even sometimes have insulation. We use all this to protect the fish from jumping out of the pond. They don't normally jump out, but this is our inventory. This is an investment on the company. We want to make sure that they're nice and safe in the pond, and if they do jump out, they go back in. The worst thing is to come in the morning and see, $500 laying on the ground not moving. One is because all of us here at Fitz Fish Ponds love animals, love koi, so we hate to see it, and also we want to protect our investment. Every pond also has its own dedicated filtration system. Instead of having one centralized filtration system, which you'd see in most aquaculture facilities, this was our first greenhouse we ever built. Everything's built out of wood and liner. That's the fastest way we can build something. And then as we progress onto the farm, there's concrete tanks and different styles of tanks built to get done on different areas. So, these guys are awful hungry too. You can see there's some classic koi there. Everyone thinks of koi as the tancho, the red dot on its head, and the white body represents the Japanese flag. Pretty cool to see. We have a few in this tank. But right there, that's called a tancho. And this one would be called a kahaku, a red and white. This was the first variety of koi ever produced. And then later they produced this tancho, which is bred from breeding kahaku. And then they breed it down so they get that perfect red circle on its head. And these fish are only 1 year old. The younger you buy a fish, the more chance it has to have imperfections as it grows. The reason why a larger fish gets to be so much money is because it's gotten to a size with less imperfections. A small scale, a little bit of red outside of like a circle, or the cleanness of how the red meets the white, all affects the koi's value over time. If you think about it as like living art, right? The more perfect this art piece is, as it's 3 feet, 100 centimeters, the more value it's gonna demand. And being that these are all living pieces of art, sometimes to get a fish that big takes 6, 7 years. So the small percentage of a fish from 1 year old to that size and quality is so small. The breeders know that, and they demand a price for that. At a certain level of the hobby, it's the art, it's appreciating the parentship of the koi, like the genetics, the gene lines, and what these breeders can produce. And also, just like there's a dog show, there's a koi show. People actually bring their koi all over Japan and the US and other markets where they show them to win prizes judged by koi judges. It's a very small market, but it's really cool to see people from all over the world bringing their fish places where it can be appreciated by the public, and then the fish are judged on different qualities that we just talked about. To win a koi show or to have a really high-end fish, you can just go buy one, right? There's fish for sale that are $200,000, $300,000. You can go to a breeder or a dealer and say, hey, I want to win a koi show, and get that fish. A lot of hobbyists appreciate buying fish at the 1 year old age and then growing them themselves, and being to say that, hey, I bought this fish, I picked it out, I bought 10, and I grew this one to 90 cm, and it won a koi show. And to me, that's really impressive to see. So these are from a koi farm called Mamataro Koi Farm. They specialize in really big kohaku, sanke, and yamabuki. So here are some super high quality kohaku. These, even though they're only 8 to 10 inches, sell between $400 and $600. Based on that, if you feed them and grow them correctly, they have a chance to get to 90 cm and win a koi show. And people come here and spend an hour, 2 hours picking through this quality of fish to say, hey, you know what? I used my eye, I picked a fish that won. And it's also great to see when you go to a koi show and somebody won a fish or won a show with a fish that they bought for a few $100s and grew it for 10 years in their backyard pond. It really shows that there isn't an entry point financially to this hobby. You can, if you're good at taking care of your fish, you can win a koi show. You just can't win it overnight. Koi don't always have to be kept in a pond outside. We have so many customers that come here, they see this garage setup, and then they tell their wife they have to park their car outside for the winter, and then they grow their fish inside in the winter in a tank just like this to be able to really see how big they can get them. But this is a great entryway to get in, and you could build a tank like this with filtration for a few $1,000s, get some fish. You can even start them smaller. People put them in an aquarium just to start out if they really have the koi bug. They'll grow faster in a bigger environment. We run some fresh water through the smaller tanks. It simulates that the environment is actually a little bit bigger for them because it reduces the waste in the water. But the koi will just keep growing typically. We actually do put some salt in the pond. A high level of salt reduces stress for the koi and actually kills some parasites. We're always adding salt. We go through about 100 tons of salt a year on the farm. So it's quite a bit. So we're always keeping a little bit of salt in here. Just helps de-stress the fish. We also sell Japanese goldfish. They're called tamasaba. They're like the size of a baseball, actually a little bit bigger. So we don't normally sell them, but this year we brought some in. So I'll pull some up for you. These can be kept in a fish tank or a small backyard pond. These are also cold hardy. They're fairly large, so have a look at some of these. That's a goldfish that's 3 years old. Do you believe that? People like having these in their pond and mix up the variety a little bit. Not every day you see a goldfish that big. These goldfish are also shown at goldfish shows throughout the US and Japan. You know, these goldfish aren't gonna get bigger than, 6, 8 inches. It's just a different aspect of the hobby. For me, I can't get my head around like a goldfish being worth a couple $1,000s. But for me, I think back to like, that's probably what most people think about koi. It's like that same reaction. I was like, how could you pay $1,000 for a goldfish? But I think the general public has the same notion when I'm like, yeah, we sold a koi for $20,000. They're probably like, wow, you're crazy. Right now, I feel like the hobby is growing in the US. During COVID, there was a big spike in people staying at home and wanting things in their backyard. And now that those ponds were all built, maybe friends and family came over now. So we do see a lot of people wanting and building ponds in their backyard. It's a nice piece of the landscape, and koi are cold hardy. So if you live in New Jersey or a colder climate, you can have koi. And then in the winter months, they just go under the ice, or you can heat your pond. And even if you're in a warmer climate as well, the koi don't need to go through that cold cycle. They can stay warm all year round. It's a really fun hobby to get involved with. Even if you don't like the koi side, just have a pondless waterfall or a feature in your backyard to add that nice sound is really relaxing. So most of our customers are keeping koi and like koi ponds. Some of them actually use the backwash water from the filters to water their garden, their vegetables. This water has so much nutrients in it because of the fish waste that it's really good for a tomato plant, whatever you're gonna water or grow. You can run like a small aquaponics system off of this as well, which I've seen people do, which is really cool. It's actually pretty funny. Like say we do a cleaning on a pond where it's actually we go to a customer's house, we would drain their tank like this, power wash it, clean it, and you go back 2 weeks later and you see the grass in like early March have this giant green stripe down it and everything else is still pretty dormant, all because of all the nutrients in this water that's let the grass grow. It's great to have the water be used multiple purposes for the customers. So these are some of the first tanks we built here. They're built out of 4x4s, and these came from a past store, and we just transported them over here to the farm. They perform really well on the farm, and nice to see the fish at this level for a buying experience. This greenhouse, typically we don't bring that many customers to, but this area in the back is where we'll keep fish that are for sale. Some of the tanks on the other side are more for like wholesale or online orders. Another very important thing on the farm is hand sanitizer. We use this because If I touch a fish in this greenhouse or one tank and go to the next tank, even though we're doing a ton of preventative maintenance on the farm here, it's always good to make sure your hands are clean, your shoes are clean before you go into another greenhouse, to not bring a parasite or a disease from one tank to another tank. Even different bacteria strains sometimes could affect the fish. So we're always hand sanitizing or using alcohol to clean all of our supplies. And then each tank also has its own dedicated net to not transfer any problems around. This table here is where we ship a lot of our koi out. Just 2 days ago, we shipped over 100 boxes of koi in one day. It's a lot of work, but we ship koi just like you would go to the aquarium store and pick up a goldfish in a bag, water, oxygen, and we send them on their way. The koi are good in that bag for up to 40 hours. So later today, we'll pack some koi up. So this farm we purchased 5 years ago. It was a poinsettia farm, and I picked this place because it had a really good water source. So we're on an aquifer here where we can pump so much water nonstop all day. Water is very important for fish, especially freshwater. It's on 100 acres here, so it's plenty of room for growth for the company. Right now we use about 10 to 12 acres of it. The rest we just use to grow some corn, but really good headquarters that's centrally located between all of our locations. This is where our head office is for construction and our service department, also for our wholesale division. Nice to have everything in one place. I actually live on the koi farm here as well. I could be as hands-on as I need to be with all parts of the business every day. It's definitely come a long way in the past 5 years. We also have a mechanic shop here where we do most of our own repairs on a lot of our equipment. We can fix anything in the koi houses, and then also our excavators, skid steers, trucks, they need regular maintenance. Having a mechanic full-time is really helpful to us here on the farm. There's always something that's gonna break, so we need to fix it. Most people have no idea what we do, so I put a giant koi fish on our mailbox out front that's like 12 feet long. And this place is closed to the public, and then once a year, we do an event called Koi Fest, where we invite anyone to come by. We have a lot of non-koi hobbyists that come, but we also get 3,000 to 5,000 people from our local market and from all over the US to come to this event. And it's just a giant koi event. We put on a koi show and sell koi at a discount that day. People come in, they book tours around our greenhouse and get to see everything. It's a really cool event. And a lot of the local neighbors in the community come out and they're like, oh, this is what you guys do here. It's pretty rare to be a koi farm in New Jersey at this size. So this next area is where we have 5 greenhouse. Sorry, we keep adding them and I just forget how many we build. This was the second one that was built here. We call this one Champion House. It has 2 really large koi tanks. This one, we keep a lot of our most expensive fish in. One of the ponds is dedicated to one of our customers to keep some of his fish. His pond's not ready yet. So come with me in here and we'll look at some bigger koi. So I just walked into this greenhouse. We got Mike and AJ in here, and they're bowling up these 2 koi for a customer. These are 2-year-old fish. They're called golden corns. They actually get like a corn-like pattern as they get older. And this is how we sell fish to customers when we're in Japan and on the farm. We just put them in a bowl like this, take a quick video on our phone, and then we can send it to any customer all over the US. So the customer just picked this darker one here. So we're just gonna bag it up real quick, and I'll show you the process on how we transport a koi from our farm to a customer's house. Once the koi come to the US, to re-export them, you need a health certificate. Most of our business is done nationally, but we do export to some smaller countries. It's always easier to ship direct from Japan to those countries. The health certificates are recognized better from Japan versus like imported Japanese koi that are in New Jersey, but we do export to other places as well. While we wait for the bagging, some koi actually come with certificates. So at a certain level, you'll see here the size, 83 centimeters, the day it was born, the gender, the type of koi it was, and the bloodline. So the breeders will offer different certificates to show the labels of the koi. And if a koi is actually very similar to another koi, they'll put a microchip. So this koi actually has a microchip right here on its back. It's so you can identify it just like if you lost your dog. You scan it with a reader and it tells you the microchip number. This is the one that the customer wants, this darker one. So I'll move this one back and you could just dump the bowl, but another way to handle fish is to lift them up. And if you keep the koi's head near you, they don't shake as much. I'll lift it better next time. That was a little active. 15,000 gallons each. And then this pond, since we usually have high value fish in there, we have 2 different forms of filtration on each one. Just if one goes down, we will make sure that another one's always working. And then multiple like aeration systems as well. Without air, koi can't live. Like we need oxygen to breathe, they need it as well. In the ponds, we have the aerators, the bubbles coming off the bottom of the pond, and then also all of our returns splash in. So if one part of that fails, the other part will allow the koi to be happy and healthy. So we're gonna bag this in another greenhouse. So what we'll do here is just put a little bit of water in the bag with the fish. So it's always important to keep the head of the fish down so it doesn't shake in the bag. And now follow us over to the next greenhouse. We'll walk backwards.
Should be enough water in the tank.
Yeah, we'll see. So now we're gonna put half fresh water, and then we have the pond water from here, and we're gonna put it in the 2 bags, so it's double bagged. It's really important when we're shipping the koi to make sure the water goes above their gills. So a fish like this would be 1 per box or 2 per box coming from Japan. So you can see here, there's not too much more room for a second fish in this pond. And now we have pure oxygen, so we always use 2 bags for shipments. Sometimes, if the fish is really expensive, we'll use 3 bags or 4, a thinner bag. If it's being shipped like air cargo, we just want to make sure that the fish gets there safe. Today, this fish's journey is only 3 hours, so we got oxygen and water. It's good for about 40 hours in this box, but the faster you get it there, the less stress that'll have on the fish. So this greenhouse, we call this ICF greenhouse. We're not that creative on the names. Maybe we'll work on that. It stands for insulated concrete forms. It's one of the construction styles we use in building ponds. In between here is actually 8 inches of concrete, and then we have 2 inches of styrofoam on either side. So with no heat or anything, just having the cover, these ponds maintain like 55, 60 degrees in the winter, so it's pretty energy efficient. This greenhouse, we keep fish that are 2 years and older. This pond specifically has 2, 3, and 4-year-old koi, some maybe 5. But if you have a look in here, there's just massive fish. Some are almost 3 feet long, a meter. This pond here is about 20,000 gallons, and this greenhouse actually consists of 80,000 gallons of water. This is Fish Mike. We were very creative on that name as well. His name is Mike. He works in the fish department.
Hey, I love it.
And here is meter-long Yamabuki. Yamabuki is a style fish, it's a yellow koi. It's called Yamabuki Ogon. Ogon means it's a solid colored fish. As you can see, you know, all the scaling is perfect, and to get it at that size, this is why a fish like this will demand a higher price. Really good quality fish, and this is from the same breeder that we saw earlier in the other greenhouse that had little yellow fish. And this is only 6 years old. So the same way we packed that other fish, this is how this fish got delivered to us in a box just like that. Pure oxygen, just enough water. And a fish like this, just to ship it, costs about $1,200 from Japan to our farm here. So we will grow some, but most of the time we're buying a finished product. And we actually go to Japan a few times a year. All these fish were picked out by me or my staff while we've been in Japan. So as you see, Mike's catching the fish, right? You know, if you've ever caught a fish with a net before, it's not the easiest thing to do. When you're catching koi, it's very important to be patient and allow the fish to swim to you, and then you just kind of guide it. You're not really catching it. It takes a long time to get experience at catching large fish. Any one of these fish could swim right out of the net really easily. It's really important to have patience, take your time while catching a fish like this. One, because you don't want to damage them, and two, if you chase them, it stresses them out and it stresses all the fish out in the tank. It's nice to go very slow, get the fish up in the net, and then you can bowl it, look at it, bag it, whatever you want to do with it. So Mike just caught a Tancho Kahaku. This fish is 3 years old. It's about 70 centimeters. We looked at these in the other greenhouse, but to get a fish to this size where the head is still perfect, there's no, they call them shimis in Japan, little black dots or secondary red on the fish. That's what people dream of getting when they buy a smaller fish. A fish like this would sell between $8,000 and $15,000. As you can see, it's pretty perfect in the sense of that perfect round circle on its head. The white is white, there's no extra red. Really nice fish and look great in anyone's pond. All right, so we just caught an asagi here. It's a blue fish with an orange stomach. Really interesting scaling pattern on a fish like this. One of my favorite fish, actually. It's very rare to see a blue fish in a pond. The cool thing about the asagi is you can get them in different styles. You can have a little bit of orange, you can have a lot of orange, you can have the head be orange. I like when customers want to collect all the varieties of fish because there's hundreds. Sometimes people just want to pick a few to collect and start with. This is a really nice example of an asagi. And all these koi in this pond are from just one breeder in Japan. So this is a breeder that breeds a lot of different varieties and still gets a high quality fish. So really impressive. It's one of the largest facilities in Japan. In Japan, the fish are only indoors for about 6 months. They spend the other 6 months outside in mud ponds. At our farm here, we have to always be able to sell the fish, so they can't go into a mud pond because it'd be very difficult to catch just one to get a photo or ship it to a customer. So our facilities are more designed to keep fish long-term inside, and then we can ship them out on a regular basis. So we use larger filtration systems where we can feed a little bit. Mostly in Japan, the tanks inside are really just for keeping the fish until they go back outside for the winter. Some of the larger farms are starting to grow fish inside in concrete ponds just because of the risk from predators. And those greenhouses look a little similar to this. We build ponds as well. So when we're doing something like this, it's done by our team. So everything you see on this farm is built by our internal staff. Sometimes projects take really long here on the farm if we're busy building projects for customers, but it's a great way to practice new construction techniques or try something different and know what works. So when we're building ponds for customers, we get the best results. Oh, Mike caught another fish. All the fish we looked at so far had scales. This fish is Deutz, which has no scales. This actually has one lateral line of scales on it, but you can see, even on the camera, how smooth the fish looks compared to the other fish. This would be a Deutz Kiko Kuryu. Really cool metallic fish. Most people are getting into the more unique varieties. This koi, you know, it stands out compared to your standard red and white fish. And this fish, to give you an idea, this net is 36 inches. This fish is probably about 32 inches. It's still a fairly large fish. These filters are specifically designed for koi ponds and wastewater treatment aquaculture. When we have really large, high stock ponds, we'll use more of an aquaculture filter, which is based for like higher fish loads, more feeding, and they're biomechanical. So mechanical physically removes the solid waste from the water, and the bio helps reduce ammonia, nitrates in the pond. Also, the mechanical part keeps the water nice and clean and clear, because you can't really sell a fish in a dirty pond. This is a Showa, really nice fish as well, red, black, and white. And it's pretty deceiving, but these ponds are 8 feet deep. You see a fish way down on the bottom, you don't think how big it is, but once you pull it up, you realize the size. So the large tank there is 20,000 gallons, and then the rest of these ponds are all 10,000 gallons. All different breeders, and they're all separated by price point as well, because it's very difficult when someone comes in, how much is this fish, how much is that fish? So we try to keep price points somewhat organized here. A lot of these koi are actually on our website. Very difficult when you're selling koi online is there's no SKU number, there's no warehouse thing. So all of our tanks are labeled. This is called ICF3. So on our SKU online, it's actually listed as ICF3, the fish location. So a fish like this could be between $2,000 and $4,000. It's a pretty expensive purchase for somebody. They might go on our website and send us an email. Hey, can you take a recent video of the fish swimming in a bowl? We want to see it. Can we FaceTime you? The sale process sometimes is fairly long. It's not just someone going online, clicking and ordering. Having the fish on our website allows people to do that. We also sell fish wholesale and in other stores as well. We might get a wholesaler, hey, I need 10 koi at this price range. And then our staff here has to go find the fish that meet their customers' needs. Here's another one of our larger tanks. It's actually the guy's brother who breeds these koi, who bred the fish in the pond up front. Both produce a ton of varieties, and some of our favorite people to buy koi from in Japan. Really great family, and I feel like the brothers have this level of competition where they're pushing each other to do more and do better. And you can see, just by the looks of it, how nice and big these koi are. So again, these fish are all individually photographed. They're put on our website, or they're pre-sold to customers while we're in Japan. Behind us here, we have 8 separate tanks. These are to sort smaller fish for our online store. It's very difficult to find a fish this big that's listed on our website. So all these tanks are numbered and categorized. So as we're getting an order, someone can come down and be like, okay, fish from ICF 11, it's a Ginrin Chagoi. And then they have to look amongst 30, 40 fish versus looking in a tank where there's 1,000 fish. Getting a system for that, and then also sometimes fish die, so then you have to find out what fish died, remove it from the website. So it's a process that's taken us a little bit of time to do. It's great that we can sell fish all over the US from our farm here in New Jersey. We probably have about 50,000 fish. This year specifically, we had about 2,500 boxes of koi coming from Japan. I think that's a lot, way too many. We are the largest importer of fish into the US market here. So yeah, it's pretty overwhelming throughout the season. We had 17 separate shipments come in throughout the year, and they start in about October, November, December-ish. We try not to ship too much before Christmas. We like to ship the koi in the wintertime. When you ship in the winter, the water's colder, the fish are less active, and they arrive in better condition. Especially when you're shipping a koi that one fish could be sold to a customer for 6 figures, you want to give it the best chance to arrive in good condition. It's very hard to predict, so we bring a lot of fish in because they're only available a certain time frame. I can't just call up the breeders and be like, hey, I need another 10,000 fish. Those fish are either back in a mud pond, or it's too warm to ship, or the fish in that price point aren't available. So we have to be very strategic in our buying and forecasting for the season. Being a wholesaler and having 8 retail locations, we always have to have fish in stock. Everyone's like, oh, what fish sells the best? And every year it's different. One year, people might want a ton of chagoi. The next year it might be showa. Everyone says in Japan that I buy too many tanchos, but every year we sell out. So it's just so hard to predict what the customers are gonna like and what they're gonna want. And we always just try to keep enough fish in stock to keep everybody happy. Built this koi farm with the idea of giving people the Japanese experience. For some customers, it's out of their reach to just get on a plane, fly 14 hours, take a 3-hour train to the koi, spend a week of their life looking at fish, or they're just not that into the hobby yet. So this is us in Japan with customers picking out koi to kind of give them that same experience, what it's like in Japan, but giving them that here in New Jersey. With what we've done here, we'll be able to pull people in from California, Texas. They fly in to come to our facility here and pick out their fish. And it's like that Japan experience. And this is kind of like their taste of Japan. And then usually after they come here, they're like super addicted, and then they end up coming and booking a trip to Japan as well. It's another part of our business where we offer like koi trips to come on Japan. And that's actually the name of the company, Koi Trips. Very simple. And we take people on buying trips through Japan. And it's actually worked out over the past couple of years where through our social media following, we'll get a call or a DM from somebody, hey, I'm in Japan and the travel agency said I could buy koi, and they have no idea how it works. And then we end up sending them with our staff in Japan to go around, buy fish, and ship them home. And this is exactly the same experience someone has on our farm. We actually hand do in Japan, and we even get involved with the mud pond harvest and everything. So it's a great experience once you get to that level of the hobby. These are where the koi stay in the summer months, in these mud ponds. And then in October, we actually drain them down with the breeders and harvest the fish out after another growing season.
As an independent team of filmmakers, we love producing documentaries for artisans of all trades, honoring skill, passion, and determination. So whether you're a garage baker, homegrown mycologist, backyard farmer, or off-grid homesteader, send us a message and share your story with the world.
Being that we have all these fish, we have a staff of about 6 people in our fish department here. One of them is actually a fish veterinarian, Dr. Ben. He's with us for about 3 months. He used to be a subcontractor of ours, but being with so many koi that we have, he's our in-house vet. We actually run like a vet practice here. So if someone has sick fish, Dr. Ben goes out to their house and does like a house call on their fish. We don't only work with koi, we work with all types of fish, and that is handled all by us. I'm pretty excited about it. We're the only pond company in the US that has an in-house veterinarian. We're probably the only pond company in the world that has an in-house veterinarian. So I think it's pretty cool. And then we can just offer a high level of service to our customers. We also do phone consultations, like telehealth, if you would. We do the same thing for their fish, just give advice. We also offer seminars and instructional events as well to help people with their care of their koi. This here is one of our newest greenhouses. It's built out of wood, just I wanted to build it really fast because we had a lot of fish coming in. As we've grown in doing this, I realized that having simplification is better. So every tank here is identical, the same amount of size. So when we're treating fish or treating the water, it's a lot easier to make sure all the treatments are the same. So each tank here is 5,000 gallons. Each one of these tanks has 2,000 tosi in it. These fish range from 6 to 12 inches. These are one of our best-selling items here on the farm. It's a great size for any beginner pond. So we sell a ton of these. We recently brought in 8,000 of this specific variety from one dealer. And that was just a random guess at how many we're gonna sell. So I hope we sell them all. Here's a larger variety of fish. These are all 2 years old, pretty unique ones. As people get more and more into collecting, they're looking for those unique pieces to add to your pond. It's like living art. So the art isn't made up of just one, it's the mix of koi that you have in your pond. Another thing we have is a butterfly koi, and they're in this tank here. All the fish we've seen so far are standard fin. They have a short fin. These actually have a longer fin, and very creatively, the Japanese call them butterfly koi. They're a nice flowing fin. We sell quite a bit of these as well. These are 1-year-old koi here, and it's just a nice addition to the pond. The pure koi hobbyists don't really like the butterfly koi, but I think they're really nice looking as well, and it's a nice different kind of look. So this greenhouse is set up for when the customers visit. A lot of times a wholesaler or a dealer would come in here and they'd want to hand pick koi out of this tank. So what we would do is pull the cover off, net up a few hundred fish, and that dealer might have customers that are after a yellow koi, a blue koi, a red, white, and black koi, or a tancho. And then we allow that dealer to hand select their 100, where most wholesalers just ship you a box of koi. You know, the dealers will spend 5-6 hours driving here to get that hand-picking experience, where if they didn't make the journey to Japan, they can then tell their customers, hey, we hand-picked these fish. That way, as a smaller retail store, you don't have random fish that were just shipped to you in your tank. It's worth that investment in time. I have a pool house here on the farm, so when these customers come up, I allow them to stay over, I take them to dinner, and they pick out all their fish. Nice mix of koi in this tank here, a lot of tanchos and different varieties as well. You know, most of these fish are just wholesale or retail fish. People just come in and they might have something that catches their eye. A lot of times people come with an agenda of, I'm gonna buy 1 or 2, and they leave with 10. One of the, I guess, misconceptions about koi is everyone thinks they're really difficult to take care of. They're fairly easy to take care of. It's just taking care of the water and managing that, and the fish are really hardy. You know, they can stay outside. I've seen them in ponds that haven't had filtration on for years. That fish adapt and they do well. And with a little bit of effort and the right filtration, you can have really beautiful koi, and it brings you outside from your house and like that daily thing, and people just go out by their ponds and it brings them joy. It's different than having like a dog or a cat, because it brings you outside into the garden, and it's a really nice addition of a water feature to be able to interact with, and people end up naming the fish and get really attached to them as well. It's a great outdoor hobby to have, and people always think koi are expensive. Yes, koi can be expensive, but you can get fish for really good value, for $50, $60. So having a pond in your backyard, you can have a pond without fish in. Some people have fish for a whole bunch of years. They're traveling too much, and they decide they don't want fish anymore. You can then put chlorine in the pond. The fish do help balance the ecosystem to keep the water clear, but you don't have to have fish in the pond. Most people that decide to not have fish anymore, they'll just make it more of an aquatic garden. They'll keep water lilies and different plants like that, And the aquatic garden side is a whole nother hobby. One of our other stores specializes in aquatic life and plants. We do a few here in one of the other greenhouses, but koi and plants go well together. But really big koi and plants, the koi are omnivores, so they'll actually eat a lot of the plants as well. If I had a pond in my backyard, I'd always have fish in it, but also I've seen really nice pondless features as well that don't have koi, like the one in the front of our facility here. The funny thing is now, the koi is one of my favorite parts of the business to work in, but unfortunately, I have a big job as like CEO and CFO where I'd love to just be up here all day selling fish and working on the koi, but unfortunately I have to run the entire company. But I try to get up here as much as I can, especially at night when no one's here. So it's good to be up in the koi today. So we're gonna bring a fish up, we'll do a microscope scrape on it, and then we'll walk down. If you have an iPhone, you can actually put it on the microscope and we can get footage of the koi.
So when we scrape the fish, we like to get different parts of the body to make sure we're having the best chance of finding anything that might be there, parasite-wise. So what we'll do is we'll usually flip the fish over, and then we'll take a scrape from like underneath the gills. And so like this is what a good scrape looks like. You have a nice slime coat that you could get with your cover slide, press it down a little, and then you check it out under a microscope. And if I see movement, then I like close up on it and try to identify exactly what it is. And once we identify it, then that allows us to go from there, find the medication that we need to treat the tank with and treat the tank. So this is something that we do within the first week of when the fish get here, just to make sure we're keeping the fish as healthy as possible. I'll start out in a little bit farther away magnification, scan the whole slide, and then get a little bit closer to see if I can see anything that might be a little smaller. And the parasites like to hang out on like the outer edge of the slime, just like scanning the outer edges, making sure that everything is clear. But this helps us identify what we're gonna do next with the tank. If we see the fish are acting a little weird, we start out with a scrape. If we don't find anything, then we decide what we want to do next, whether it's add salt, add an antibiotic that helps the fish regain strength from after the shipment. When we're looking at a pond, we'll try to identify the fish that is, you know, looks the worst, so might be struggling more than others. So we'll do a scrape on that fish and then go from there based on what it might have. And you know, we'll do multiple scrapes as well on multiple fish. So it just gives us a more broad way of seeing what might be going on. As you do it more and more, you can almost tell by how the slime looks on the slide if they have like a healthy slime coat. If you do a scrape and you notice it's a little bit like heavier slime, maybe a little bit more yellow, then you can be like, oh, there's probably something going on there. But yet, everything looks clean on this slide. We'll do weekly scrapes just to make sure that the health of the fish here at the farm is like top tier. We want everything to be good. We want the fish to be able to go out whenever, constantly doing scrapes and maintaining the tanks, you know, keeping the water really, really nice for the fish. So it's kind of like the most important part of it.
So this is a moving bed. It's got biological filtration in it. When they eat, they give off ammonia in their waste. The ammonia can damage their gills. It can basically kill the fish. What this biological does, it converts the ammonia into nitrites, which is also toxic to the fish, and then it eventually converts it to nitrates, which is much more harmless to the fish. So you have to have the proper biological filtration to maintain the water for the fish. So there's a lot of chemistry involved. Just having a moving bed with this media works like a charm. This is K1 media, it's Aqua Evolution. There's all kinds of different K1 media. It's a floating media, so it's floating. We're moving it around the air. The bacteria needs air. In a bead filter, it's a low oxygen environment, so it doesn't really do well for the bacteria. This has a lot of oxygen in the water. The bacteria thrives in it. So it's one of the best filtrations for the fish. So we have a drum filter. It's a Profi drum. The water comes inside of this drum and then it percolates out, much like a coffee filter. All the fish crap, uneaten food, waste gets stuck inside the screen. Clean water comes through, goes to the pump back to the pond. The nice thing about these is they clean automatically. So as the drum rotates, the screen is spraying all the waste into a trough and it's going right out. Definitely the most effective filter on the market. We have to measure ammonia. We use an ammonia alert cards. where you just pick it up and look at the color. So just the color of this being yellow tells me this water's safe. There's not high ammonia. If it starts getting blue, toxic for the fish. So we'd have to address it with a binder, water change, lower the fish stocking. But this card really works well. Quick test, easy to do.
This greenhouse, we actually called this lily house. We name them for what they're supposed to be, and then they change. So originally the plan when we built this was to have just tanks of lilies on both sides, and then the fish department was like, come on, please, can we just have 5 more tanks? We need space. So plants on one side and fish on the other. Originally all lilies, that's why we have the clear thing on the top. It's better for the plants, but now it gets extra hot in here. So we just deal with it, and it's a good greenhouse where we actually grow some of the tosai to bigger because the water gets so warm. But a lot of these plants now are dedicated to our construction and service teams that leave from the farm. So these plants mostly are to fulfill like small store orders or for the construction and service teams to just use to put in the rocks on jobs or something, just because it's easier than going to a different store if they're leaving from here. Nice little setup here. It would have been nice to have it all plants, but we sell a lot of koi. Here's some of the smaller guys, I'll feed them. In a pond, these fish could get to like 10, 12 inches in a single year. As they get bigger, they slow down growth. So once they get up to about 80 cm, they only grow about 7, 8 centimeters a year. But in the first couple years, they grow really fast. It's like a standard grade Japanese koi, right? So they're not like the highest sought after, but they're really good entry level fish. And these would sell in our stores like for $34 to $50, fish like this. It's one of the smaller sizes that we carry. And this is one of our best selling sizes. It's a nice entry level to the pond hobby. Plants are in full bloom, it looks like. Got some more butterfly koi in here. The Japanese think they're not like the pure koi, so they're not as popular in Japan. There's actually only 2 farms that breed this style fish, and they sell out every year. So if I was a Japanese breeder, I would breed them, but they don't. You want to have about 800 to 1,000 gallons minimum to start. So like a 10 by 5, like 2 feet deep is a good size to start with. Just something you can keep a few fish in there. The bigger the pond, the easier it is to balance the water parameters. Having plants and fish all together too is really nice. This is just like a overstocked pond, and you can see it's a little green, but the fish and the plants look really good together. So it's another greenhouse. These are all 2-year-old and 3-year-old fish. A lot of tanchos and different varieties in here. So actually here, there was another lily tank, and then we took it out because I wanted to put more fish tanks. We're doing more and more business online, so we need smaller tanks set up so that we can sort the fish so it's easier to sell them online. So that's what this is gonna be in the next coming weeks. So this is what my night usually looks like. I come in here, I'll walk through the greenhouses, I'll feed some fish. Unfortunately, the size of the company now, I'm walking around and I look for problems, right? My brain is trained to look for, is the air on? Are the pumps on? What's working? I noticed an aerator was off. Can you see this is plugged in or tripped or something? Yeah, it's just not working. It's all the way in. I don't know why it was off, but these are little things that if they're not working, we could lose fish. So every day, it's so many little things that we have to check to make sure that the fish stay healthy. So the property actually goes the entire tree line. It's a little crazy, but our main operation is done on like 10 acres here. I think keeping the operation consolidated and able to manage it will keep it here maybe a little bit bigger, but then we'll look to have other locations strategically around the US just to be able to support it better. One of our biggest expenses is shipping, so if we can have our locations more logistically centralized, we can offer a better price to our customers. This is what 2,500 koi boxes look like stacked up. All these boxes were fully done, shipped with koi from Japan to here. To give you an idea, we ship the koi on an Airbus A350-1000 on JAL, and that plane can hold about 750 boxes of koi. We put about 200 per shipment. It's a lot of space, but it goes forever. There's boxes everywhere, as far as you can see. And when they're fully done, they're not small. So you can imagine all these came with koi, and it's our goal to then get these shipped out and sell. So we'll know how good the season went depending on how many boxes are left. Hopefully none. There's probably 2,000 boxes in here. We're gonna pop upstairs for a quick video. So this is a barn that was built in the 50s. It's actually called a Sears and Roebuck barn. It was on the property, and when I saw this, this is what sealed the deal for me to buy it. I was like, all this open space and storage, you couldn't go wrong with it. So I turned it into a storage facility for our business. And it's just huge open space. At one point, I thought about putting a pickleball court up here during COVID because I was really bored, but it turned out it's better to be warehouse space. Yeah, all of our stuff gets in here. This is what stocks and supplies all of our retail locations, except for the stores in Tennessee. We have another warehouse down there in Tennessee. Most everything comes through these doors here and then gets shipped out. Very useful to have this much product in stock. A lot of the product we import from England and some from China and others local from US people, but we're buying in large quantities to fulfill the needs of our customers. So much product, and a lot of this isn't just about koi and fish, it's about having the products to support the hobby, the pumps, the UVs, the filtration. That's what we specialize in as well, having that stuff readily available for the customers. So right now we're at the Fitz Fish Ponds retail location in New Hope, Pennsylvania. This was our 4th retail store that we opened up about a year and a half ago. This is a nice 15,000 gallon koi pond we built right in the center to mimic a pond that's pretty famous in Japan at the Koi Museum. The store has everything you need for your koi pond, water garden. Also it has an aquascaping store, which is like a planted aquarium store. So we'll pop inside in a little bit. The unique thing about this store is all the added foot traffic. We're next to a walking mall called Peddler's Village, which is pretty famous in the area here, and that gets about 3 million visitors a year. So having this pond for the people to feed, we also have a pond inside their village, about a 10-minute walk away, with the fish feed machine as well. It just brings people into the hobby from a young age to start enjoying feeding the fish. We're always seeing regular faces back here just feeding the fish, enjoying the pond, even though they might not have a pond. This is one of my favorite stores. I've been here through the whole construction process as we built it. Also, it's really close to the farm, and there's a lot of good restaurants in this village, so it's a frequent spot for me when I want to get a bite to eat. What's more eye-catching than a giant 6-foot koi in front of the store? So many people just come up here and take pictures with it. It's a nice feature. This is what we'd call a pondless waterfall. This is in the front yard of the property, so having no pond is better for people walking by and stuff. You don't want a pond out here, especially this close to the road. So this pond gives off a nice sound. It even drowns out the highway a little bit. Really cool feature. All of it has lights, so it's lit up at night, but let's pop inside and see all the products that support the ponds. So this is our retail footprint inside here. This building is actually 3 floors, so the office is upstairs, and there's a 2nd floor of more pond product. But this store is unique because it has a planted aquarium store as well. So we'll show you that, and then we'll take you around and see the other stuff. So this is a classic like aquascape planted aquarium here with the rocks and then all the live plants in there and a rimless tank. So really cool. I don't have one of my own yet, but I always enjoy them when I come to the stores. Maybe one day, but then I'd have to pay the staff to take care of it because I'm too busy. There's some customers down in the aquascaping area now, so we can hang up here. These are all of the pond products that we sell. These are what help take care of the ponds, keep them crystal clear, from bacteria to algicides. All these different elements here help keep the ponds healthy. And this is what the customers are popping in for on a regular basis. So this is our aquascaping side of the business. 2 of our stores have aquascaping stores inside of them. It's all new to me, this side of the business. 2 of our employees are really passionate about, actually 3 of them are really passionate about this stuff. I kind of just ran with it and went with their judgment on everything. Really impressed with what they do here and the numbers that they put up in sales. And I love this thing. I mean, this tank, I feel like this was in an office. You know, how cool is this just to have something like this at your house or at an office and just be able to look at it and enjoy it all day. Even if you don't have the space, you know, we sell these fully done, or they call it fully scaped. Everything's included for $300 or $380. Great little systems to have. I think one day I'm just gonna take one home. I don't know. There's aquascaping contests and things that the staff gets involved with. So aquascaping is in having live plants in your tank and then using rock and wood to create a scape. So this would be considered a scape. These are the hard goods you'd call that support the aquascape of the pond. So the different rocks that we have, the lava rocks, all different things, and then people will come in here and they'll actually set up their scape on a table with dimensions and then decide what size and what pieces they actually want. So they'll come in here and they'll like build their scape. We actually have a sandbox at our other store where people spend more time doing it, and they'll spend 2-3 hours picking the right pieces, laying everything out, and creating something like this. So I think it's really unique and it's growing on me. I think we're going to implement one of these stores at one of our other locations as well. Yeah, so these are all fish and stuff that support aquascaping. These are way different than koi, really small. Most aquascaping, they don't have a ton of fish in there. They just keep a couple, usually some schooling fish or maybe one betta fish, all different and unique. These are more like people would just buy a group of them. They're not really picking out like an individual fish like a koi. They're more, their species is like one color or something like that. I definitely need to get more educated on this side of the business, but for me, it's hire good people that are good at what they do and they kind of get out of their way and let them do it. That's what I've really done with this side of the business. And Jen, Vladik, and Howard do a really great job with this whole part of the business. Jen runs it, and Howard and Vladik help a lot. I'm always amazed with what they put on. They're like, oh, we want to do a new display tank because we sold this one. So they build these setups, and then people come in and they're like, I want that. And they just take it home. Really cool to me. Maybe I'll dedicate some time to learning it, but I have these guys that are so good at it. Why should I learn it and get in their way? Yeah, I'm really fortunate to have a good team. So this is like our outside water garden area. You saw all the koi fish at the farm. Here we have 3 different tanks for koi. They're divided into like 8 different price points. This is the largest koi besides the one in the big pond that we have for sale. Most of these fish are priced individually. So all the managers here will know the pricing, but some really nice fish. And they're hungry. But the good thing about having the stores is anyone can come here, they can look at the fish, they can see a price. At the farm, it's by appointment only, and we do require a minimum spend there, just because the farm is so busy all the time. But so many people just come to the store, and once they get further into the hobby, that's when they decide to make the journey to come to the farm and then come to Japan. If you're just after like a yellow koi, we're always gonna have something like that at each store. But then if you wanna really look at 20 different yellow koi, that's where it makes sense to come to the farm. All these fish look very healthy and happy, so John's doing a great job taking care of them. This tank here is divided into 3 sections. It's very easy for a customer to look at. At the farm, there's no pricing on the tanks, but here you can see, oh, these koi are between $5.50 and $6.50. Then right next to them, you can see what $3.50 and $4.50 will get you. So it's a great way for customers to shop and see what koi they get for what value. So it's very easy to compare, like we talked about earlier, what makes a fish more money. And you can do that side by side in a tank like this. All the fish look nice and healthy, so I always like to come to the store and have nothing negative or no bad feedback to give. When the boss stops by, sometimes, I have a list of things that need to get worked on. So it's always nice when I come and there's not much to say besides good job. And definitely, I've been here in about a month, so I'm really impressed with the upkeep and how everything's looking. So here we have all like the aquatic plants, and they're retail ready. So a customer could just come in like this, grab the plant, and head right home with it. Nice little touch to have everything really close together here, and gives the people to compare what plants they want for their pond, and they get ideas, exactly like with the inside plants. They can pick exactly what they want. And then here's one of my favorite plants. It's called a lotus. The cool thing about this one is the leaves actually repel water. So if you look as I drop water on these leaves, it just kind of beads up. So you can see there, pretty unique. These actually get like this big, the leaves, and then they get a huge teacup flower. So this is one of the smallest ponds that we'll build for people. Something like this will start at about $7,000, and it's a great way, an entryway to get into the pond hobby. Now the materials for this are about $2,500, maybe $3,000 plus the rock. If you wanted to do this yourself, this is a great project we can coach you through to build your own pond, or something our team can come out and do in one day in your backyard. So nice little feature, and it's a great way, people that are coming here that enjoy feeding the fish, that can just say, hey, you know what, to get into it, this is what it's gonna cost. And look, there's 3 koi in there and they're doing good. This is my favorite thing in the store, is this giant mural. There's like 10,000 cars a day that come on this highway. So what better way to capture all of it than this huge koi mural? And I was really nervous when we did this that the town was gonna say that it was a sign, but to me, this is art, and that's what I'm sticking with. This is artwork. This is not a sign or an advertisement. So strictly art. The art on here that Ray did tells a story of the whole store. You have the small betta fish, the aquatic plants that you'd have in the planted aquarium, and then of course the koi and the lily pads growing through it. And it was really amazing to watch her work. It was her first time operating a scissor lift, and so she was a little bit nervous, and then going 3 stories up, she pulled it off, and now she's always eager to get on the next project or building and paint something. So one of the cool things about my job here is taking someone that is starting the company at a certain level and then getting them to grow and seeing what they can become, you know, at here, if they continue their career here, or what they move on to in the future. So sometimes this isn't a home for everybody when they're working long term. Sometimes it's a stepping stone, but to see people progress and grow in their own industry and their own goals is really cool to see. And Ray's been with us ever since she does this painting, and she's really good at it. And everyone else has a great journey at Fitz Fish Ponds as well. So it's awesome to see that. And we're gonna keep growing and painting cool things.
Hire us to tell your story. As an independent team of filmmakers, we love producing documentaries for artisans of all trades, honoring skill, passion, and determination.
The fruits of our labor literally creates happiness.
Founded in 2020, we harness our collective experience and enthusiasm for storytelling to deliver content that resonates with viewers on every level.
Think big and think outside of the box.
We avoid the constant noise of clickbait news and outrage headlines, instead crafting more intimate narratives that touch on the purpose of life itself. Stories that not only inform but also inspire, whether it's the art of agriculture, the science of fermentation, an innovative garage startup, or the intricacies of off-grid living. We're here to explore it all and invite you to join us in the discovery.
You're just working with what you have at hand instead of having unrealistic expectations.
We know the world is brimming with hidden stories waiting to be told. These are tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
The biggest thing is to realize that there's nothing that you can't do.
Embodying the American spirit that with hard work, dreams really can come true. So whether you're a garage baker, homegrown mycologist, backyard farmer, or off-grid homesteader, send us a message and share your story with the world.